Hey, this is a review for Maya Chan Resort in Costa Maya, Mexico. My family went on a cruise recently on Royal Caribbean. The cruise was 4 or 6 nights, 5 nights. It was a 5 night cruise, and one of the stops was at the port of Costa Maya. We had decided to spend the day at the resort there. I had read a lot of positive reviews about the great service, the fantastic staff, but the negative I was reading was about the condition of the water. Not because of anything the resort was doing, but because of just the nature of that area. There is a seagrass there. I forget what it's called. It's sorghum or something interesting like that, but I don't know, I don't remember the name, so I just call it seagrass, but it had a sulfury smell to it, and I was very paranoid that that was going to bother me. But it didn't. We enjoyed it so much. I highly, highly recommend you go and not worry about the smell in the water. The water is kind of tea colored. Don't worry about that. It will not deter from your enjoyment. You will have a great time. So I am now just signing in ASL what I typed in English on my blog. Getting there and back, first of all, that cost is included whenever you book your day at the resort. It is a longish walk from the ship. If you struggle with mobility, you definitely need to arrange something, whether that's a wheelchair. I think they have shuttles and golf carts. So if walking or mobility isn't a problem, the walk really isn't that bad. You can see here this picture where the ship is docked. You can see that the pier itself is very, very long. Then once you're off the pier, you arrive in a shopping area, and those shops are designed to be amazed, to force you to kind of get lost, because their goal is they want you to get lost, go in shops, and spend your money. But something I appreciated from Maya Chan is that they provided very clear instructions about where to go. They gave us a map that showed us exactly the path we needed to take with landmarks and things like that. And they included pictures. So like they had a picture of the building where we would meet them, and to pick up, to get picked up by the taxi. So it was fantastic to have that resource. Some people I read complained that it was a very bumpy 40-minute ride that was uncomfortable. Our experience was very different. We actually timed it, and it was a 22-minute ride. I can understand that it may be 25, maybe 30 minutes if there's some traffic, but the driver took great care and drove very slowly. I think it's only about 5 or 6 miles from the port to get to Maya Chan. When we were at Maya Chan, we could see the ship all day, so it's not very far. They just drive very slowly. Now, the first half is smooth roads, but they're going through town. So there are people crossing the street, there are shops, there are things happening, so they drive slowly for that reason. The second half is full of potholes, no doubt. So the driver drives very slowly and maneuvers around those potholes. Our driver did not drive through the potholes, both to and from. Our driver was fantastic. I'm guessing people who complained about a bumpy ride may have had a careless driver, but Maya Chan sends a taxi to pick us up. I think they know who it is that's bringing us. That cost, again, is included. We did tip our driver because he did such a good job of taking care not to drive over potholes. We had air conditioning, lots of windows so that we could see out. It was really interesting to see. And then on the drive back, I had imagined, if we get to Maya Chan at 1 o'clock, I'm going to want to leave by 3:30 or 4. But we stayed until the very last minute. We took the last shuttle, which for us was at 5:30, because I wanted to spend every single minute I could at Maya Chan. A funny story is that on the taxi ride back home, My daughter and another woman had to go to the bathroom so bad they could barely hold it. So the driver went faster than usual at the last couple of minutes. And once he dropped us off closer to the ship this time, he got out and walked them to the restroom so they could find it quickly. He definitely didn't have to do that, and I thought it was really nice. My hot tip for you is bring a water bottle from the ship, or first thing when you get to the shops, find a place to get some water. Because that walk and taxi ride, if you're there when it's hot, you may get thirsty. When you get to the meeting spot to get on the taxi, there's a paper you have to sign, and they have a covered area and seating. We waited just a few minutes, not very long at all, and the taxi that was really just a van, 2 vans, pulled up to pick up everyone who was there from Royal Caribbean. So once we got there, I'll talk about the smell and the seagrass. I completely understand that I'm not using the correct term, but that seagrass, that's what I'll call it, really was not bad. You definitely can smell it. You start to smell it once on the ride, he started driving parallel to the beach, parallel to the water. That's when you could start to smell it. It was a sulfur smell, and we realized it wasn't a great smell at that point. It wasn't so awful we felt like we had to cover our faces. Now, my 2 youngest boys are 12 and 13, and they're very sensitive to smell. They always have been. When we go to Asian markets, they cover their face. They complain because of live and fresh fish that are always in the back of the store. They just don't like it. Even on the cruise, one night at dinner, I ordered lobster, and when it was brought to the table, it was very good, by the way, it smelled a little fishy, and my son Tian was sitting next to me, and he complained and he couldn't even eat his pasta because he was so disgusted by the fishy smell. I'm telling you that to say how sensitive they are to smells, and that seagrass did not bother them one bit. Now, when we first got out of the van at Maya Chan, my son Travis, the older of the 2 younger ones, he complained that it smelled really bad. We told him it was seagrass, and then once we walked onto the property and got in our spot, he never complained again. He saw the men that were working very hard at mucking up all of that seagrass. They really performed hard labor in the warm sun all day to keep the seagrass away from where guests were. But both of my sons were fine. They didn't complain at all. Most of the time, we couldn't smell it during the day. Every once in a while, a breeze might bring in some of that sulfury smell. But again, it wasn't awful at all. I think, too, there was like a switch in our brain that let us know, oh, that smell is the seagrass. It's kind of a fishy, sulfury smell. So it wasn't bothersome at all. Let's talk about the water, the activities, and amenities. They have a glass bottom, what they call a glass bottom kayak. It's really a clear plastic bottom that you can see through. When I first got on, it does look like that tea water. You don't really see a whole lot when you first start paddling out. But once you get out further, you do see better. It was interesting because I didn't personally see any fish. Before we went on this trip, I really wanted to snorkel. I enjoy snorkeling a lot and was looking forward to doing that on this trip. But I will tell you, I did not miss it at my day at Maya Chan. You can find other places to snorkel, but we ended up kayaking pretty far out. My daughter, my son, and my daughter's boyfriend kayaked even further out and jumped out and swam and snorkeled a bit. They didn't see a whole lot of sea life. There is a reef even further out, and if you want to kayak out, you can go and look for that. But the water was very clear, and there's no smell out that far at all. They provide the snorkel gear, life jackets, plenty of water shoes in various sizes. They have floating chairs where you can sit out in the ocean. They also have a platform. They have 2 big platforms that at least 2 or 3 people can fit on. And it's out in the middle of the water, anchored to the ground. So those 2 platforms were nice. 2 of my boys, my oldest son, TJ, and then my youngest, Tian, they like to stand up on them and play kind of king of the mountain and see who could be the last man standing. For me, I enjoyed, and I noticed other people doing it too, just laying on those platforms and, feeling that the ocean. It was just very relaxing and enjoyable. We had our own, what they call a palapa, and it's a thatched roof, really beautiful, with plenty of chairs, a hammock, and a beach bed. They had a beach bed out there, and we so enjoyed that space. Travis really, and there's Travis. Travis enjoyed using that bed. After he did all the activities and swam and ate, he hopped on Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is included there, and we hadn't had Wi-Fi for the last few days on the ship. So he really enjoyed laying on that bed and scrolling through TikTok. And we enjoyed the hammock and the seats. The drinks are included: alcoholic drinks, virgin drinks, water. All of that is included in the price that you pay. Okay, let me talk about the food. The food was fantastic, and it smelled wonderful. And I guarantee you won't notice any sulfury smell once that cooking gets started, because it smelled so good. When we first arrived, they brought us chips, guacamole, and salsa. They were all very delicious. About an hour after our arrival, the woman had been cooking for that first hour we were there, and then lunch was ready. So it was a buffet, but they served us just like they did on the ship to help reduce any kind of COVID spread. So on the ship, everyone's required to be vaccinated if they are 12 and above. So younger kids that can't be vaccinated yet had to stay on the ship or do some type of ship excursion if they wanted to get off. But that meant everyone there was vaccinated because we all came from Royal Caribbean. We didn't wear masks at all at Maya Chan. The staff did serve us rather than us getting our own food from the buffet. The food was very good. I liked the chicken and pork. I tried a fermented fish that was a traditional Mayan dish. I really wanted to try something traditional to that area of the island. And the fish looked very good. I can tell that it would have been good if it weren't fermented. For me, the fermented part was tough for my mind to get over. But if you like that, definitely try it. It looked good. My husband, his favorite was the steak tacos. They also had rice and beans, and then of course all the drinks and everything like that. If you're curious about the food and drinks that are included there, they have a menu on their website. So go check out their menu. Everything is listed there. One thing that you can pay for is a massage, and it is so inexpensive compared to anywhere else you're going to find a massage. I think it's like $25 for a half-hour massage. Bring cash for that. A funny story is my oldest daughter, I understand she stayed on the ship with her 3-year-old son because he's not vaccinated. She is vaccinated, but her 3-year-old, of course, isn't. So they stayed on the ship due to the regulations there. But I haven't really had the opportunity to drink with my older teens. We may have had wine together at home with dinner or something like that, but not really drank together. In Mexico, the legal drinking age is 18, and my 2 kids that were with me are 18 and 19, and my daughter's boyfriend who was with us is 20. So we enjoyed drinking together. My husband and I enjoyed drinking with them as young adults. It was kind of a good and fun experience. The youngest 2, of course, did not have any alcohol, but the staff brought them different virgin drinks. And they could order, a strawberry daiquiri that was virgin. They could have ordered pina colada virgin. They had a host of different drinks, but their favorite thing to order were the Shirley Temple. But the Shirley Temple is just Sprite or 7-Up with some cherry, the grenadine. So they really enjoyed ordering that. One time, Travis had ordered a strawberry daiquiri, and the staff said, we also have an Oreo cookie smoothie. Do you want that? And his very favorite thing are Oreos. So I'll show you this picture. That is 100% pleasure on his face. He's so happy. You know how people have different love languages, if you're familiar with that? Travis's love language is food. So he was thrilled to have that Oreo shake or Oreo smoothie. The boys really had fun in the pool and enjoyed being waited on by the staff. So they were able to order a Shirley Temple, and the staff would get it and bring it back to them in the pool. And they thought that was cool. So did I. It was a really good experience. It was such a relaxing day. Everyone in our group enjoyed it in different ways, with the different activities. Some of us just stayed near the palapa and rested. Some got out and kayaked. Some kayaked close to shore. Some went much further out. It's really up to you on the activities you want to do and how much you want to rest or do things. If you have the opportunity and you're going to Costa Maya, I highly recommend visiting Maya Chan. We truly enjoyed the day there. It was so much fun. They had a lot to do, but we really enjoyed relaxing. I wouldn't count on it being your snorkeling day. You can snorkel if you go out far enough, but you need to go with a group because you've got to make sure your boat stays with you if you're going to be snorkeling. I just wouldn't count on that being your snorkel day. Find another port where you can snorkel or a different place. But the relaxation, the enjoyment of being out in the water, on the water, in the sun, the plants and the shade there at the pool, you can see the picture. It's just beautiful. As we left, we felt 100% relaxed. We truly enjoyed every minute we were there.